What's up, what's up, what's up? Hello, everybody. Okay, welcome to the first edition of our Hype the Homegrown on Pudicast. Okay, so I'm guessing you guys have been checking out this whole campaign by St. Louis Lager, simply titled Hype the Homegrown. You've seen people like Priscilla K. You've seen people like my homeboy Hensi. They have a new project out, which is under the same banner. And this is basically just an initiative by St. Louis Lager and the creative industry of Botswana to showcase the company's commitment to telling stories that support and uplift local artists, musicians, and fine artists. You know, you'll find people like Bofifi Wale also creating, fine art that then is put onto clothing by the likes of BK Proctor. So it's a whole holistic thing. What we're trying to do here is get into conversations with people who've been in the creative industry and are basically stories of success. You know, this is an aspirational type of setup. We're not here trying to bash anyone, but we're basically going to be ruthless about the truth because as much as we are hyping the homegrown, we need to make sure that, you know, the youngsters who follow after the people who are on don't make the same mistakes so that we all progress in the same fashion. But to cut a long story short, we got one of those creatives. They are called a multi-hyphenated creative. This dude, what did you do?
I don't even know what that means.
Cool. This dude does a whole lot of things from being an MC to being a broadcaster. He's also an entrepreneur. I don't know if you're writing a book. I don't know. He's got all kinds of labels under him and titles under him. And he's able to move around that sphere very, very easily as compared to a lot of people. Well, pre-2020, before COVID came through, but we'll also find out what he's into right now and how the industry has been treating him and why he chose the creative industry to delve into. So without further ado, in the house today, we're joined by none other than Mr. Penyo Moroka.
What up, dog?
Hi, Papa. How are you?
I'm good, my brother. How you doing?
It's good to hear you behind the microphone.
Oh, man, this feels so good. Like I'm getting flashbacks.
But we have to talk about pre-COVID because I know right now you are into other things apart from your MCing. A lot of people see you at a lot of amazing events as well back in the day. But, you know, what are you currently doing right now?
Wow. Man, currently, the focus is on trying to build the business ventures I'm working on. I think, you know, without plugging too much what I'm doing, I'm involved. I'm involved primarily in sort of two areas right now. One of the first areas is I run a company that basically does branded merchandise, corporate clothing, corporate gifts, signage, all of that stuff, right?
No doubt.
So I always like to say, listen, if you can put a brand on it, you know,
holler at a brother.
Holler at a brher, and we can do that for you. You know, we've worked with some of the best blue chip companies.
Okay.
I won't mention any.
Okay.
But KBL is actually one of the clients that we've worked with. So we've been privileged to be able to work with quite a few of the big companies. Work with quite a few of the top clients as well.
Okay.
But we serve everyone.
Okay.
And then of course, one thing that I think even the time when I was more in the public eye, a lot of people didn't know.
Yeah.
I've always had a big passion for real estate.
Okay.
Right. So I'm currently sort of, exploring and learning as a real estate entrepreneur and a real estate investor.
Okay.
So that's kind of where I'm playing at the moment.
Okay.
And of course, you know, still in and around broadcasting. I now sit on the board of directors for one of the private radio stations.
Okay.
And I still do MC corporate events. So
they let the rabbit have the gun.
Yeah.
You're out there on the board of, oh my word. Yeah, I know.
So
but it's still a creative space still, like what you're doing.
Yeah, look, I think from that perspective, it definitely is a creative space because now you're sort of, your responsibility and your focus is much bigger than just your 4 or 3 hour show, right? It's about what is the direction that this business will go.
Okay.
And as we know, there's been a lot of disruption with the likes of people like you with podcasts and stuff.
Yeah.
So the traditional sort of radio station model is really being disrupted. And one of the biggest things that is part of my mandate in this particular business is how to try and figure out how we maintain relevance through the product that we put out, but also how we can plug into different platforms and different media to be able to get to where our listenership is.
Awesome.
So it's exciting, it's frustrating, it's stressful, but I think given the way my life and my career had been set up, and my love for radio broadcasting itself, it is the next step.
Yeah,
you know, it has always been a dream of mine to be in radio station management. Unfortunately, I skipped that step and then went into sort of, strategic decision making or strategic direction.
Yeah.
Because it's ownership here, so I want to live out of my
Well, I can also learn to the license. They being out there, so the opportunity for people to be able to get on these, especially if you've been on these platforms as someone who was like the primary contact between the audience and the business.
Yeah.
I mean, you probably have a better appreciation for what the work is and what the creatives within broadcasting look at that point of view.
Yeah, I'd like to think I do.
Hey.
I definitely like to think I do, and I think even more than that, I think having been on air as a broadcaster, it gives you a real insight into what needs to be delivered, or into what the business really is. I think when you're an owner and you've never really worked within the space, you don't really understand what the business is. The business is the on-air product.
Yeah.
It's I've always said when I talk to some of the people in this particular business, we need to be careful what our roles are.
Yeah.
And we need to understand that the entire value chain, if you will, of the business, we need to know where everybody fits in. Because if this business was a screwdriver manufacturing business, you can't just let the guys who are manufacturing the screwdrivers now go and try and sell.
Yeah.
Because what's happening on the production line?
Definitely.
You get what I mean?
But so I feel that. But then that means you're there talking for presenters to get paid more, right?
Yeah, of
because
course.
like I'm saying, the value chain, the end product is with the presenter who's on air. But it seems like everyone makes more money than the presenter.
That is the unfortunate truth.
Yeah.
And, you're going to hate me for saying this, but when you now look at the entire business.
No, I'm watching you become a suit right in front of my very eyes.
When you look at it, when you look at the entire business, you start to realize that the talent being the face is unfortunately not more important, but just as important, right? So if you were to ask me, in the business as a whole, does everybody need to make more money? Absolutely, everybody needs to make more money, but the only place that money can come from is the advertiser, right? And we need to figure out, okay, as a business, how do we bring the audience that the advertiser requires to be able to pay us more? So that ultimately is the challenge. We're sitting in the middle. We have two key stakeholders, the audience, the advertiser. We need to serve both those people because we're the place where they meet, right?
Yeah.
So how do we do the business in a way that allows us to bring these people together?
It can't be by paying marketing executives more than the on-air talent. And this is why I'm saying a lot of even the private radio stations don't retain a lot of the on-air product. They can have the on-air talent. And for me, that's where I think as a creative, you being a suit now, I think you'd be talking to that.
No, absolutely.
Hey,
Look,
you guys know, okay, cool. The person who's being sold is
the on-air talent. Yeah.
And then why is everyone having, the better part of like the commission, and then they're not? And I'm going to put you on that because you know all of them. You've been on air. You've been in sales. You've done marketing. You were
like I've worked in the entire radio
and
station
now you are sitting
ecosystem
at a strategic position. When you do put out these ideas, or do you feel the need to hold them back, knowing that we need a sustainable situation and we can't sustain a creative sector and feed into the GDP of this country if we don't protect the talent?
Yeah, look, the talent needs to be protected. And it's, when you sit on the suit side, you realize it's not as simple. But yes, talent absolutely needs to get paid more. Now, the challenge is the guys who are out doing the selling will tend to earn more overall because on a little commission.
Yeah.
But my view has always been, we don't want to use that to entice talent. Right, you don't want. I absolutely don't believe that talent needs to get involved in selling to be able to earn more money. So yes, absolutely, we have to pay talent more. We have to pay talent better. But one thing that I've realized, and I think this is something that I learned there where we used to work, is that paying, right, doesn't necessarily come or doesn't need to come in the form of actual cash.
Yeah.
There's this amazing word they love there where we used to work called a trade exchange.
Oh, Lord.
That thing is incredibly powerful. Okay, and I'll give you an
And
example.
they can even trade human beings.
Yeah, and I mean, let me
For it, Tato will be there.
yeah,
Like,
right. But
man, I got things to do.
let me give you this as an example, and it's something that happened before things I suppose changed and the economy changed. But if I'm paying, let's call it $5,000, right? On-air talent, average salary is $5,000. There's tax that goes out of that, so you're left with 4 point something to do what you do. Now, imagine the burden I take off you if I'm able to negotiate with some of our advertisers and our stakeholders to say, okay, for on-air talent, we won't make them pay for airtime.
Hey.
We'll work a partnership with someone.
Yeah.
We won't make them pay fuel for their car. We'll work apart. All of a sudden, that little bit of money stretches, right?
Yeah.
Because you've been able to cushion that.
Yeah.
So that's how I look at it. I say, listen, the sustainability and the protection of talent, you don't have to earn a big amount of money.
Yeah.
The question is, how do we as an ecosystem do what needs to be done to make sure that the little bit that is there goes as far as possible?
Definitely.
And and again, we'll go back to the radio or airtime thing. Airtime is an infinite resource.
Yeah.
Right? So you really can be strategic, you really can be creative with how you use it to benefit your talent so that your talent doesn't feel like they're underpaid. You get what I mean?
I feel you.
Yeah.
Hey, I feel you.
But
yeah, I feel you completely.
yeah. So that's one of the things that I think ultimately I'm responsible for at that business, particularly because I'm in the operations subcommittee. So literally the operations of the business is like on my head. But yeah,
I feel that.
That's just one one of the things that I do.
And and for anyone who's wondering where we are at 8 at Design. It's
in Setoa.
That was Setoa. What makes you think I don't know this is Setoa?
I mean, I'm getting flashbacks, so I just need to double check.
I know. I've been around Setoa before. It's a really cool spot.
All right.
You can come out here, man. It's I don't know how to describe where it's at. So since you are from this
It's
part
at
of
the
town,
design quarter, dog.
At
So
the
the design
design
quarter
quarter.
in Setoa. I mean,
Yeah,
some of
that's
us
where-
just
that's
know
where we're
these
at.
things better than other people.
whatever, man. And we are having ourselves some St. Louis lager.
Yeah, big up.
Big up to them, man. Cheers.
Cheers.
Can I get
Yeah,
idea?
I'm
How do
gonna-
I say?
Hey, this is yeah.
You know they used to call it Klo back in the day, apparently.
Oh, really?
Hey,
Why?
Staga told me that it was, well, I can't give you an aunt. Something about that. They'll when I get jumpy, but I'm correct if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
I want to get into the MCing because Tota Hela, you don't do it as much as you used to.
Yeah.
I think we can give us a whole spiel about being an MC for some of the most amazing events here in BW. The international events, especially where we have a room filled with dignitaries and whatever.
Yeah.
I've always been in awe of how you're able to just walk in there and just command respect, and do the job, actually. You don't step out there and try to be a comedian.
No.
So
No.
even the other day when I was presenting with Nomzamo,
Oh, okay, of course. Name dropping. Why don't we?
I had to figure it out. It's like, I'm not a comedian. Don't
Yeah.
come out here. What would Penyu do?
Yeah.
Because you are, the upper echelon when it comes to that thing, my
I
dog.
appreciate that, dog.
Hey, so, how did you get into MCing and how did it blow up for you?
Wow, I'll tell you how I got into emceeing. And I'm gonna do a little bit of backstory again, just for context, right?
Yeah.
Way back when, in the early 2000s, I came from school in Cape Town, and I was absolutely in love with talk radio.
Yeah.
Right, that's what I do. That's what I love. So I then got on to. Are we allowed to mention their name? I mean, we have to because that's where we work,
because
right?
it's the truth.
Yeah,
right?
okay. So I was on Yarn FM, and
Yeah.
after many trials and rejections, I ultimately made it into Yarn FM. I actually got in through the back door because I knew one of the owners.
Privilege, yeah, Gaborone Johnson. This is called gas.
So, but yeah, I think I was fortunate that ultimately my talent, backed me up. But I got onto the radio station. I was doing a lunch hour talk segment at the time, and an evening. Live the talk,
My
yeah. And I was doing
gosh.
a show called Point Blank that was created by David Mwepeng on Monday evenings.
Yeah.
So those shows ultimately got sponsored.
What, apart from your dad having been in Parliament, what was the reason? I mean, of course,
for talk.
Yeah, no, for them to entrust you in that. David Mwepeng is not just everybody here. He is the head of news, and he's been one of the people who started all of these current affairs items. So why you, and what
I think I was just the only, at the time, I just happened to be the only one who was interested.
In doing it.
In doing it. And in fact, how it happened was I'd been knocking on Yarn FM's door for a while, and I'd said, listen, I want to do talk radio. I don't want to do anything else. I want to do talk radio. And the reason for that, and we're going to go back, the reason for that is I first got on air.
And you do know we have 30 minutes.
That's your problem, dog. I got a lot to say.
I know.
I first fell in love with radio, Killegos Gale at Stellenbosch University, right?
Yeah.
I got on air, I was doing second year, and I loved radio. And at the same time, I was a big Metro FM fan.
Eh.
And on Metro FM, there was a guy called Given Mkari, right? And
The owner of Power.
The owner of Power and Capricorn FM, and he used to be a part owner of one of the most creative ad agencies ever to come out of South Africa called the Jupiter Drawing Room. Like I'm an absolute fan, Given Mkari, and he used to do this talk show before. I think at the time it was before Robert Marawa came on with sport. But I just used to listen to Given Mkari all the time, and I thought, I want to do. That's the radio I want to do. So even when I finished school, I came here and I decided I want to work at Yarn FM. And I want to do talk. And, it took years and rejection. But ultimately, when I got there, the opportunity was that, one, I was the only one who wanted to do talk radio. There happened to be a new talk show. And the guy who was doing it at the time, David Mwebeng, he was off at Rhodes University on a course. So nobody could do it. So they had no choice but to trust me.
I feel you.
Right.
That's dope.
And I jumped on, and I guess I was good. David came back, and everybody said, yeah, take the show, run with it. Then that translated to Live the Talk, which was a lunchtime talk segment. That show ultimately got sponsored on different days by both Leah and Sida, right?
Damn.
So that's how I got into
You
emceeing.
came with the money.
I came with the money. It wasn't as easy as Owen Rumba loves to tell the story, but that's another story for another day. But ultimately, the money came, right?
Dog.
The money came. The show was sponsored,
And especially from those entities.
yeah. So both Sida and Leah were very happy with what we did, and then there was Consumer Fair. There was the SMME Awards that they have at the end of the Consumer Fair, and the marketing manager at Leah, who is, I still have a very good relationship with now. She's moved on. She's at Botswana Stock Exchange. My good friend Tapelo Muribame. She was my contact point, and she said, "Listen, Pena, we have an event. Can you MC it?" I said, "Can I what? Can you MC it?" He's like, "Yeah, I mean, you're the sponsor. It only makes sense that the guy who's the face, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "All right, cool. Sure, I'll do it. I don't know what that is. I have to figure it out." And then she said, "So how much are you going to charge us?" I'm like, "Oh, wait, there's more money?" So I said, I think at the time, this was 2011. My first gig in 2011, I made 5,000 pula.
For how many hours?
I think it was 3 or 4 hours.
3 or 4.
Yeah.
And then you were hooked.
That was it. The rest is history, literally.
Yeah.
I've been doing this, I call myself professional because you pay me to come do this. And I've been doing that. And I think part of why I kind of stood out, if I will, was that I decided then and there that it started with the radio I wanted to do. I wanted to do talk radio. Right? I didn't even want to get on the morning. I refused to do the morning show first, right?
I know.
Because I was very clear what I wanted. And from there, when I got into emceeing, and then the gigs start coming, right? You do that show, people see you. Oh, come on, that guy. It kind of just snowballs. Then I decided I'm a corporate MC. I'm not going to do festivals. I'm not going to do shows.
Can you feel it?
No. That was not my place. Hi, Laura Kiago, can you feel it? Kinsimo VIP. It's that simple.
No, but you know what? I think early into the career, for how you're telling your story now, early into your career, was it because you had some idea of how you're supposed to carry yourself to be able to attain such clients? Because I guess it's how you represented yourself that made that that caliber of client come to you. So how did you get that?
I don't know. I don't know if it was as calculated as what it sounds now. But I just knew what I wanted to do and what I didn't want to do. Right? And it really was that simple. Yeah.
No doubt. I want to talk about your experiences and your highlights and what we can say about MCing being a sustainable career for anyone out here in BW, because you've done some amazing things with it. I know COVID was a major setback.
Yeah.
No one was working.
Yeah.
Dude, look at us. We're here on a pod, man.
Yeah. You got to pivot, right? We had to pivot. Look, I think for me, what worked for me, and the advice I'd give anyone, whether you want to be on radio, whether you want to be a rapper, you want to be a podcaster, you want to be whatever you want to do in the creative space. You want to do an MC. You can do all of these things.
Yeah.
But first and foremost, be you.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Do what you enjoy.
Yeah.
Do what you are good at.
Yeah.
It's that simple. Right? Even the times when I was on radio, a lot of people were like, "Oh man, I want to be like you, Peña Moroka." I was like, "Nah, be you, dog.
Yeah, just do you.
Do you." And I think I was fortunate enough that,
Blind.
right? So I've always been very clear about what I want and how I want to do things.
Hey.
So that for me is the key. Be authentically you. I made a decision way early in the game that I want to be talk radio. I made a decision way early in my career that I want to be a corporate MC.
Yeah.
That's it.
We were talking some time ago about barriers of entry.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'm putting it properly,
Yeah.
but some of the stuff that turned you off MCing as much as you used to was because now everybody could do it. In your words,
Yeah.
in private, but like
No. Look, it's
I'm putting you on blast.
It's a real thing, and I think it's
You're not gonna let me say what you said, right?
say what did I say?
No, because like I see it too, where a lot of people from marketing departments and companies end up being the ones now who are MCing.
That I absolutely hate. We're gonna talk about it, but let me answer this question
Yes, sir.
first. Look, I think people got desperate when COVID hit, particularly people with a creative inclination. And what happens with every business, whether it's it doesn't matter what business it is, when the barriers to entry are low, it's easy to get in, therefore competition becomes high. Now, that kind of ultimately put me off MCing, and it still kind of irritates me a little bit, to be honest, because what it does and what I've seen it doing to us as the corporate MC space, right? Yeah. It kind of erodes our value because people now say they want Peña Moroka because they know what Peña Moroka can do, but they have the nerve to come back to me and say, that for me is an insult. Honestly, it's incredibly disrespectful because I've been doing this for over 10 years. I've done it at the highest level possible. And if you're talking to me, let's talk about the value I can deliver. Yeah. Right? There's a very big difference between value and cost. And if you come to me talking about cost, then I'm just not interested because I have earned the right to be at a point in my career where I say, I don't wake up for that much money. I'm not going to put a suit on for $8,000. I'm sorry. I'm just not going to do it. Yeah. It's that simple, right? But again, what has happened, and I think this thing has been exacerbated by the pandemic, is that, in my view, the corporates are taking advantage of their people. A lot of people, big corporates, are using their staff to MC events. Yeah. What that does, yes, it ticks the box of supporting your people to, to be more well-rounded human beings and explore their other passions, etc., etc. But at the end of the day,
what did you hire them for?
At the end of the day, are you paying these people? That's my number one question.
Do you think they think the money goes back into the coffers? Kirai has a bubbly character in the office,
look,
so let's make them the MC.
I don't know. And honestly, this is my view on human beings. We all want fame and popularity.
Definitely.
So everybody's going to get excited by the idea of being in front of a camera and being in front of a crowd for a few hours. Yeah. Right? Yeah. And I think, and this is to all these internal people who are being used by their businesses, charge them. At least. But what happens is a lot of these corporates will use their internal people in the guise of Resapota Batho Baro, which is a noble cause. Yeah. But if you're really supporting, pay them for their talent. Right?
Definitely. I feel
if that person's got talent, pay him for it. Yeah. Because what it does is it ultimately is taking money from my kid's mouth, effectively. Yeah. Because that's a lost opportunity, right? Yeah. But not to say Nebaho Hiran, but maybe it's me or any other of the people who do professional MC.
Yeah.
And they're taking that money and they're not using it. So they are saving. And
Right.
the talent that's being used, in my view, is being exploited.
Yeah.
And we who do this, not as a side gig, but as one of the key things we do to earn money, then we lose business. So I think, yes, it's a noble idea, but if you're going to do it, man, put some skin in the game.
Yeah.
The only way to put skin in the game is to pay your people.
Yeah.
I'm not saying pay him what you would pay us, sure, or her, but prove that you're not just trying to exploit one about.
Yes.
One.
I feel you
So,
completely.
yeah, that one, man, yeah, it's a bit controversial, I know, but, man, it grates me a little bit.
But Miss Panisonisi, honestly, enough money for you. I mean, you were able to like live a certain type of lifestyle. It's something that would you encourage other young Botswana who are watching this program, who want to do more than one thing, and want to get into the creative space and wants to be like
a corporate MC,
all of that. Yeah. So,
yes.
do you think it's something that someone could pursue?
Let me put it this way.
And do you have some advice on how people can put themselves at an advantage? Because they had but at the same time, you've enjoyed some
Sure,
good times.
sure. Let me answer those questions. Start with this one.
Yes, sir.
Can it be a sustainable career? Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it helped me put my kids through private school.
Yeah.
Okay, that's all I'm going to say.
Yes, sir.
How can you put yourself out there? You have to do a few free gigs, unfortunately.
Yeah.
As I've gotten older, I've realized that indeed there's no substitute for experience.
Yeah.
Right? You've got to have track record. But in the corporate MC space, the people who engage you, the stakes are very, very high.
Yeah.
Jobs are on the line, right? Particularly if you now get to do at the level that I do it at, where the head of state is there are visiting heads of state, there are heads of international organizations, you have ambassadors and all those people. People's jobs are literally at stake. So if someone's going to trust you with that event, you need to bring something that can show a track record. So if you want to do it in the beginning, yes, do some free gigs. You have to. It's just part of going to the University of MCing, if I could call it that.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is be very clear about what you do, what you don't do. Be very clear about what your identity was. When I was first, the first few years of when I was MCing, I had to remind a lot of clients that I'm not a comedian. And the reason for that was...
That was funny, though.
Yeah, and there was one human being who was the reason for all of that, a certain Michael Dignesh Morapi.
Yeah, because he's natural.
Right. And people loved the way he does it, and they still do.
Yeah.
So people will always be like, hey, I'm like, no, hold on. I don't do that. If you're looking for a comedian, I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
But I think with experience, your natural wit, if I can call it that, starts to come out, and you just get better as you do it, as with everything, right?
Definitely.
So for me, if you want to set yourself apart, make yourself available, tell people you're available. Don't say no to the free gigs in the beginning. Don't say no to the low-paying gigs in the beginning.
Yeah.
And over time, I think the most important thing in the corporate MC space particularly is your track record. It's very, very much word of mouth.
Yeah.
It's very word of mouth there. And that's why you ultimately get to a point where I'm really privileged. I don't have to market myself so much anymore.
Yeah.
People know that this is an event, Penyo Moroka is the guy, that's it.
We can't be out here chancing.
No.
We have to get real deal.
I'm not putting my job on the line, right?
Yeah.
So those people, through the years, since 2011, have been able to trust me to say, listen, not once has Penyo ever embarrassed any client.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So clearly we can trust him when the president of Kai comes.
Yeah.
This is why I was so honored. One of the most important, I think, events of my career was Hahubula, the one-stop service center, the Kazungula Bridge back in 2021.
Okay.
Basically every single SADC president was there. You know what I mean?
Damn.
And it was so cool. I mean, it for me, it was such an honor to be put on that platform.
That's what doing it at the highest level
and
is,
that's
man.
what doing it at the highest level is. But you got to start somewhere.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to actually take some of those low-paying gigs just to sharpen your skills.
Of course.
Because you never know when, the
and
big
you never know who's
yeah.
watching.
Stay ready so you ain't got to get ready.
That's it.
2 minutes left. I want your top 5
Already?
BW MCs of all time. Do you know how much you talk, Moroka?
Top 5.
Like I've just been here. Like I'm just and it's a bit like that's why you get paid for it. It's like
yeah.
And I'm right.
the top 5
In
corporate
order.
No, I can't
Okay.
do that. I
All
can't
right,
do that.
cool.
And I'll tell you why.
Top
I know
5
it's
for
got
you.
2 minutes.
And remember, it's 2 minutes. That's
No. I'll take
120 seconds.
2 minutes and a half.
Oh, yeah.
I think we're so different in how we do it that it's really difficult. It's funny. I knew you were going to ask me this, and I thought about it in the
And you
shower
got
a
ready.
couple of days ago.
We always got to have a top 5.
Yeah, I think top 5 men and women.
Men and women,
right?
yeah.
Dig Nash
Of course.
is in there.
Of course. Mr. Michael Morapedi.
Michael Morapedi is in there.
Good luck with the other
Tepon
chop.
Tole.
Oh, Monahali.
Absolutely. I think.
Tepo Ntole.
Oh, my bad. Tepon Tole Hall.
Yeah.
Yes. Memma Hall.
You want Red to come and beat you.
Khaona Dintwe.
Oh, yeah.
Peño Moroka.
Yeah.
Giselle Kibaki.
But that is my 5 also.
Yeah.
Yo, okay.
Yeah.
Papa, we're definitely going to have you on the pod very, very soon as well. We're just so happy that you're able to come through and share these gems with the next generation, because I think what we've been liking in BW is that bridge between people who actually did it and did it cool. We never get to hear the stories about how they were able to do what they do. So this is what we are very, very happy about with Hype the Homegrown coming on board with the podcast, powered by St. Louis Lager. Or people like you can tell your story.
My favorite beer, incidentally.
Yeah.
Hey, no.
We'll see you again next Friday. Any closing remarks you want to say to any aspiring multi-hyphenated young person, even the ones outside of Gabs, because be you. Just be you. I know you did hit that one. Yeah?
That's it.
I think that's
the
what we can
biggest
take
piece
from
of
it.
advice is be you, because there's only one.
Definitely. One of one.
Yeah.
And have some St. Louis Lager.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
We out of here. We'll see you again next time. Peace.
Big up.
People of different identities. Booty Podcast with BSCAR.